Hello, it's Madame Albertine from France. Today I will show you how to sew this goose-shaped lovey. In addition to a sewing machine and basic accessories, you will need a 60 by 60 cm or 24 by 24 inches piece of off-white cotton gauze, a 30 by 25 cm or 12 by 10 inches piece of orange cotton gauze, a small amount of stuffing for the goose's head, thread matching the fabrics, black thread, an erasable friXion pen, a craft knife, and of course, the printed PDF pattern. Click the link below this video to download the PDF pattern and explore more sewing projects in my online shop. Start by printing only page 2 of the PDF pattern. In the print settings, make sure to select the actual size option. On the printed page, measure the side of the verification square. If it's not exactly 5 cm, like in this example, click the on-screen link to solve the issue. However, if it does measure 5 cm, you can proceed with the printing page 1. Cut out all the pattern pieces along the outer edges. The goose's body pattern needs to be assembled. Align the two sections along the joining line and secure them with tape. Take the off-white fabric and fold it in half, right sides together. The fold should be parallel to the fabric grain line. Place the pattern named body on top, aligning it with the fabric fold as indicated. Pin it in place. Position the head pattern next to it and pin it as well. Now, cut through both fabric layers, keeping the scissors against the edges of the paper pattern. Remove the pins from the body pattern and unfold the fabric. You now have the first side of the goose's body. Place the same pattern piece onto the folded fabric again. Pin it as before and cut out a second identical piece. This will be the second side of the body. Next, we will mark some reference points on the right side of this piece. To do this, cut the paper pattern along the leg markers. Fold back the paper tab like this, then place the pattern over the fabric, aligning it with the right side. Use the friXion pen to mark the 2 points. Flip the paper over to transfer these marks to the left side as well. Finally, make a small 3 mm or 1/8 of an inch notch at the top center of this piece. This will help us properly align the goose's head. Before removing the pins from the head pieces, we need to mark the no-sew zone. Simply lift the paper at these marks and slide the ruler underneath to draw the 2 lines. Take the orange fabric and fold it with the wrong sides together. The fold should be parallel to the fabric grain line. Place the leg and big pattern pieces on top and pin them in place. Since these shapes are too narrow to cut directly along the paper, we will trace around them with a friXion pen instead. For the second leg, reposition and pin the leg pattern next to the first one, then trace it. Remove the paper patterns and pin the 3 future pieces securely. On the leg pattern, make small snips at the top stitching guides before folding back the paper tab. Then, transfer these markings onto the right side of the legs using the friXion pen. Now, cut out the fabric along the traced lines. Feel free to make a small mark at the top of the big pieces to help with orientation later. Place the leg pieces right sides together and pin them. We will sew 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch from the edge, leaving the top of the legs unstitched so we can turn them right side out. Be sure to backstitch at the start and end of all seams. Lift the presser foot regularly while sewing to pivot the fabric smoothly along curves and angles. Once both legs are sewn, make small snips in the seam allowances at all curves and corners. Now, turn the legs right side out and use a small stick to push out the corners. Following the previously marked guidelines, we will top stitch each leg to suggest toes. I recommend using a slightly darker thread than your fabric so the top stitching stands out nicely. Your legs are ready! Now let's move on to the goose's head. We will first mark a guide for embroidering a closed eye on both sides of the head. Using a craft knife, carefully cut along the eye marking on the head pattern. Fold back the paper, then place it over the right side of one headpiece. Trace the eye marking. Repeat the exact same step on the other headpiece. Thread the needle with 30 cm or 12 inches of doubled black thread, knotting the end and trimming the excess. I recommend practicing embroidery on a fabric scrap first, as this can be a bit tricky. From the back, insert the needle 3 mm or 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the eye marking and pull the thread through. Then stitch at the end of the eye. This creates what is known as a back stitch. Be careful not to pull the thread too tightly while embroidering, as this may cause the fabric to pucker. From the back, insert the needle 3 mm from the last stitch and finish exactly in the same hole as the previous stitch. Continue this process to the end. If you wish, you can add 3 eyelashes by stitching 3 additional points downward. In this case, I strongly recommend tracing them beforehand. You will achieve a much neater result than the one shown in this video. One final tip: insert the exit stitches under the eyes thread like this to conceal them. Finish with a knot around one of the threads at the back, then trim the excess. Place the fabric pieces right sides together, making sure the beak is oriented correctly. Pin them. Sew a straight line 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch from the edge. Finally, press the seams open with an iron. Now, place both head pieces right sides together. Most importantly, align the big seams first. If they are not perfectly matched, the final result will be misaligned, like in this photo. Pin it in place. Sew 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch from the edge, leaving 2 areas unstitched: the back of the head, between the markers, and the base of the neck. For neat finishing, I recommend using a white thread spool for the head and switching to orange thread for the beak. Clip the seam allowances at all curves and corners before turning the head right side out. At this stage, you can press all 3 components with an iron to flatten them and erase the friction pen marks. Take the body piece where you previously added the 3 reference marks. Center the goose's head at the small notch, aligning it with the fabric edge. Pin it in place. Position the legs between their markers, ensuring they face the right way. Here, this leg would be upside down, whereas here, it's correctly positioned. Pin them in place. Now, sew these 3 elements quickly, 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch from the edge, just to secure them. It's time to assemble all the pieces of the lovey. Place the second body piece right sides together over the first. This way, the legs and head are sandwiched inside. Pin all around. Before sewing, mark a section approximately 8 cm or 3 inches long at the spot that should not be stitched. This opening will be used to turn the lovey right side out. This time, stitch 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Clip all the curves. Then, turn your goose right side out, making sure to push out the tips of the wings properly. Insert a bit of stuffing into the head of the lovey. Now press the folds of the large opening with an iron. Finally, close both openings using an invisible stitch. This diagram shows you how to proceed. For the best result, the stitches should be perfectly aligned with each other. Your lovey is almost finished. Just one last step. Tie the tips of the wings. By tightening the knot firmly, you will achieve this result. Congratulations! Your lovey is now ready to cuddle its future little owner. Thank you for trusting me with this sewing project. See you soon on my channel.